All right, so my name is Lore Thaler. So my name, you can see it here. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Psychology in Durham at Durham University. And like I said, I am the program director for this master's course. My email is lore.thaler@durham.ac.uk. So you can always send me an email if you have any questions afterwards or just want to, get in touch. So that's my email. I'm checking that very regularly. Like I said, so the plan for the session is I give you an overview of the program. Like I say, ask questions anytime. If you have a questions, you can also wait until the end, whatever you prefer. It's your session, so you should get really the most of it. Then after the overview, I'll mention some career pathways that students have taken on after the master's here at Durham. And then a mini taster lecture. So basically giving you a little bit more information about one of the modules specific to the master's course. Sound okay? Good. Right. So in terms of the program, just a general overview. So in terms of numbers of students, we're expecting a cohort from between 20-25 students. So that's what we typically see. It's a one-year program, the master's. So it starts in October and runs until September. And so it's really one full year that you're going to be working on your master's. The first half tends to be more taught components. You'll have lots of modules, lectures, seminars, workshops, all sorts. Then the second half, students find that they're more busy with their dissertations. So it's more of a research project-driven part of the master's. So even though you work on everything throughout the year, the focus may shift slightly. The master's at Durham sets itself apart by offering lots of practical elements. There's a lot of hands-on experience that you have as part of your course. For example, there are lab placements where you learn about various techniques in cognitive neuroscience, such as EEG, TMS, fMRI or MRI, motion capture, eye tracking, and so forth. And we also have workshops. So workshops is an element of teaching that we use throughout our modules, where you it's different from having a lecture or seminar, but you're really then actively working and amongst peers and so on. In terms of how the master's split up, so there are subjects which are worth 60 credits total. So the whole master's comprises 180 credits, and it's split into thirds. So 1/3 are the subject-specific modules. So these are current issues in cognitive neuroscience, which is worth 30 credits, and then the techniques in cognitive neuroscience, which is also worth 30. So the current issues in cognitive neuroscience consist of seminars and practical sessions. So they run about weekly, where you have a seminar and a practical session. During the practical sessions, you go over content that was also taught in the seminars, but in a different way. So again, this sort of hands-on interactive element stands out there. And then there are workshops that also run throughout the term. The Techniques in Cognitive Neuroscience module consists of seminars, which run roughly on a weekly basis. Then there are lab placements. Lab placements, you have one in term 1 and one in term 2. The lab placements, they are on a technique of your choosing. And then one lab placement that we now have for all the students that we wish you to attend is the fMRI placement, which consists of safety training, actually being at the scanner, and then data analysis as well. There's also MATLAB programming as part of the techniques module. Another third of the course is research training. So the modules that are tied into this element is critical research practice, which is worth 30 credits. Then we have statistics for psychology and behavioral sciences. This module runs in term 1 and is worth 15 credits. As part of this module, you learn also programming in R. In term 2, there's the advanced statistics for psychology and behavioral sciences, which is also worth 15 credits. We still use R in this module, but we also teach SPSS. So you basically get a range of different techniques, statistical training, and training in general in research as part of your master's. And the last third, so that's another 60 credits, that's a dissertation. So you could say, you know, the dissertation is really the pinnacle of the course. It's your project. This is student-driven. You'd conduct your project with a leader in the field. So this will be a member of staff at Durham University. We have excellent support and facilities. And the key really is that it's student-driven. So we don't go and assign you a project, but the way it works is that in the very beginning, when you're here at Durham, we have a dissertation fair where you get to meet all the potential supervisors, and then you can learn about their research, the project that they offer, but you can also ask questions or propose your own ideas. And then basically from this on, you then start a conversation with potential supervisors until you find a project and a supervisor that, you know, you feel most passionate about, and then you basically start with your dissertation project. We find that this is a really good process and that students tend to be really happy with, you know, what they can do. It's different from, say, if you've done an undergraduate research project before, the master's project is really a step up. It's, you know, it's a bigger project and you have more ownership of the project. We want students to do work that's cutting edge, that's in depth, and also we would like you to work independently on your project with supervision, obviously. By the end of your dissertation, you know, you've basically led and managed a project, which is a great transferable skill, no matter what you're going to want to do afterwards. In terms of careers, so students from our courses, they go on in different fields. So many of them will have an interest in research and research-related careers, and that's what they do after they have finished the master's. Some of the students go into industry or pursue clinical careers. So there's no one size fits all. So we have really a variety of career paths that people embark on. We have career events throughout the year. So for example, we have a session for applying for PhDs and PhD fellowships. We have special sessions and support for people who wish to embark on a clinical pathway. And we also have special sessions for applying for RA jobs, research assistant jobs, or other jobs. There's a very close integration with careers services at Durham University. And as a student at Durham, these careers services are actually available to you even after graduation. So just to show you for a little bit of a, you know, sort of a snapshot of what people have gone on. So what I've done here is I've sort of broken this down into research, further study, health and social care, and then other or industry, education. So you can basically see in terms of research, you know, people go on to do research assistant jobs, research administrators in the NHS, but also at, you know, hospitals or at other universities. Further study, people go on to do PhDs or PGCEs, or, as I said, mentioned before, the clinical pathway, so doctorate in clinical psychology. In terms of health and social care, so we do have quite students who will then go on to work in the NHS, in terms, you know, in terms of charities, taking roles there. Or here, what I've listed here in terms of other industry, we have students going into a teaching or, you know, in a teaching classroom context, or, you know, they work within Durham University, for example, as access officers and so on. So you can see it's quite a few things. In terms of when you look here, data engineer, value analyst, or customer insights analysis, I think when you think about the advanced research training that we provide, a lot of these skills do transfer into this sort of pathway. Okay. So we're moving on to the next bit. So a mini taster lecture. And the module that I've chosen just to give you a bit more information about is the current issues in cognitive neuroscience module. I'm not going to lecture, but it's really more an overview of the module. Again, if you have a question in between, just, unmute and say it or put it in the chat. Okay, so how is this module taught? It's a mixture of seminars, practical sessions, and workshops. So the seminars is a lecture style delivery of teaching. So there will be, slides and a bit like this where, a member of staff is delivering content. And it's to support learning theory, research questions, and so on. Then we have practical sessions. So every seminar says, they're about every week. So you have a seminar, and then in the same week, you have a practical session, which builds on the seminar. And so the practical session is there to support the translating the theory into practice. So for example, a seminar may be about developing an experimental design to test a specific research question, or, developing a technique or a paradigm. So it's hands-on, and you don't have someone delivering content, but you work as a group in subgroups or individually, depending what the exact nature of the practical session is. And then there are workshops. So the workshops are not weekly, but they are scheduled in between at certain time points. There are 5 during the year, and they are to support the development of essential research and communication skills. So for example, you may have a workshop on how to write a literature review, or how to design a poster, things like this. Then there's also a poster presentation, which is, an overall session where you would present your poster. It's more like a conference, really. So it doesn't feel very formal. And then also peer review sessions. So this is the mode of delivery and teaching for this module. In terms of the assessment for this module, so as I mentioned before, the formative is an assessment where you submit your work and you get a mark and you get feedback, but it does not count towards your final mark or your final degree. For this module, the formative is a 1,000-word essay on a mock exam question based on topics taught in the module. And typically the formative is due beginning of December or the end of term 1. And this is really good practice, say, if you've never written an essay or answered a research question like this. Even if you've done it, it's a good way to get familiar with what we would expect at master's level, because typically it's a step up from undergraduate level. In terms of summative assessments for this module, there is a poster presentation. It's a poster based on key papers chosen by yourself. And it's typically due mid or end of February, so the middle of term 2. So you make a poster, the department prints the poster for you, and then we have a conference where you actually present the poster. And so in terms of marks, you get marked on the poster itself, but also on the presentation of the poster. The other summative, so there's another summative for this module, is an exam. So it's a 2-hour exam on the content presented in seminars and practical sessions. And so this exam has 1,000-word questions, so similar to what you would do in the mock formative here. And the exam is during the May and June examination period. Right. In addition to the taught sessions, we also have research seminars that are hosted weekly by the department. So this is not formally a part of the module, but we encourage students to attend these research seminars. They're on a variety of topics. They are by people from outside Durham University that come to Durham to give talks. We also have a session that's dedicated to PGRs or PhD students presenting their work. It's really an excellent opportunity to learn about research and also to meet the people behind the experiments and then the research. Seminars are every Friday at 1 p.m. There are also research groups that we have where you have additional talks. So there's plenty of opportunity to engage with research during your masters. In terms of the just a bit more about the workshops as part of the current issued module. So as I mentioned, they are scheduled throughout term, but they're not on a weekly basis. And so indicative topics for these workshops are academic writing, making, presenting posters, poster presentation, and peer review. In terms of the seminars and practical sessions, so these are taught on about a weekly basis. What I've done here is I'm providing you with topics that, so it's an indicative list of topics, but we sometimes, depending on staff availability, for example, someone gets a big research grant, the topic may be switched to a different term, or someone else may instead deliver content. So this is an indicative list. So this is what you might expect to learn about in this module. So for example, visual development, typically taught by Professor Marco Nardini. Then conscious and non-conscious perception of emotions, typically taught by Anthony Atkinson. The role of the hippocampus in spatial cognition and memory, typically taught by Alex Easton and Anthony McGregor. You also learn about psychophysics and measurements of perception by Robert Kentridge. On to the next page. You would also learn about fMRI and neurofeedback of motivation, reward, and addiction. It's typically taught by Niklas Issen. I myself also teach on this module, and I teach about sensory neuroplasticity. So how your brain changes or adapts to changes in sensory input and so on, which is a great paradigm to learn about neuroplasticity in general. Face recognition and also Bayesian cognition. Like I said, it's not a conclusive and final list, but it's an indicative list of topics that you might learn about. Yeah, so this is the overview of this module. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. I'm very happy to have met you, even if it's just virtually, and then hopefully I'll see you in person when you commence your course at Durham. And then goodbye until then. Bye.